Hey, greetings Family and Consumer Sciences students. This is Mrs. Timm for another series on Sew What? So, when you're getting ready to sew in the Family and Consumer Sciences classroom, you need to know the equipment that you will be using. So today I would like to introduce you to the sewing machine. This is the sewing machine, one of the models that you might be using in the Family and Consumer Sciences classroom. And in order to sew a project, you're going to want to know how to use it. So today I want to show you the different parts of the sewing machine. First of all, we all want to know, this is a machine and it's plugged into electricity. How do we make it work? We have an on and off switch on our sewing machine right here located on the right hand side. When you turn it on, maybe some of you already noticed that a light comes on that illuminates the area that you will be sewing in. When it's turned off, the light is off and you will know that your machine is truly off. The next thing I want to show you is something we call the hand wheel. This knob or dial or wheel, whatever we want to call it, please call it the hand wheel, is something that you use to manually operate the needles to make it go up and down. So when you turn it, you always turn it toward you, like you're going to point your thumb towards you. Yes, I'm going to point toward me by turning it toward me, and the needle will go up and down, and so you can use it to place your needle in the fabric, you can use it to raise the needle, lower the needle. You'll use the hand wheel often. We're going to move up to this top area right here on our machine. This is something which holds a spool of thread, and we call this the spool pin. On this machine, it is a vertical spool pin. It is also retractable, so when you want to store your machine, you just push it down. When you want to use the spool pin, you pull it up. So we're going to place our large spool of thread on there, and it will slowly unwind. The thread just sits there and unwinds as we sew. We have large spools of thread. We also have small spools of thread. Of course, they're different colors. I'm going to put this one back on here, and I'll show you what we do with that one later. There's a handle to your machine, so you can carry it back and forth from the tables that you'll be working at and from the storage area where we store our machines. We always put that down when we are sewing. Now I want to show you the thread guides. I'll tip the machine forward gently. This is a thread guide. You will actually guide the thread through the thread guide in order to thread your machine, or the thread again will be guided at the second thread guide area in order to what we call wind a bobbin, which I'll be talking to you about here in a little bit. Let's move over to the top right side of the machine where you see what we call a bobbin winder. This is something called a bobbin. The bobbin is where you take thread from the spool of thread and you wind it on this plastic bobbin, but you have to do that using the bobbin winder. So we gently place an empty bobbin on top of the bobbin winder. We gently push it over to the right till it snaps into place, and then we are able to wind a bobbin. Now let's move to the front part of the machine where you're going to see the dials and knobs and things like that. The first one that I want to talk about is our stitch width dial. This one, you can turn it to the right or to the left, but when we are sewing, we are going to place the arrow in the middle position, in the M position right here. The next dial we have is our stitch selection dial, where we can see different types of stitches that are displayed on the front of this machine. When we're sewing in Family Consumer Sciences, we will use the straight stitch and the zigzag stitch. We may use some of these other stitches. It depends upon our projects. To turn the dial, you just turn it gently till it goes to the next notch. Turns again. For most of our stitching though, we will leave it at A. The third knob is the stitch length knob. It's going to make our stitches longer or shorter, so either closer together or farther apart. When we're doing our straight stitching, we leave it between 2 and 3. We can increase our stitch by turning it to a higher number, we can decrease our stitch by turning it to a smaller number. We're going to keep it at 2 and 3. Again, these are all the stitches that we could select. This is our reverse lever. We use the reverse lever in order to back stitch. We will back stitch by reversing the stitching direction, so it helps secure our stitching on our projects so our projects don't fall apart. Right here we have something where you could store a pin temporarily. Please do not pick at it, pull at it, rip it off. It's just a temporary pin storage area. Here you will see a kind of a little window with a red number. The number 5 is usually the number that you will see on that position. This is our thread tension dial. There's a little bit of a dial underneath here. We always leave it at 5. That's the best tension for all of our stitching purposes for family and consumer sciences.